All right. Okay. You find the beginning of my prayer. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, bear with me 1 second. Technology and animals are coming into play. Okay, here we go. Okay, if you're gonna stay in here, lay down. Lay down. They want to be outside because it's nice out. Okay. Winds of the South, Sachamama, a great serpent, join our circle here tonight. Teach us how to shed our past, our stories, and our prejudices. Teach us how to walk softly on the mother, the beautiful way. Help us to understand we never left the garden. Be with us, sweet one, and share your wisdom. Winds of the West, Arango, great jaguar, come and influence us tonight. Teach us to release the fear of living and dying. Show us how to become a friend of death, the death of our identities, roles, and ego. Teach us to track our lives like the great cats and see into dark spaces, to not be afraid of our shadow and whisper words of reassurance and encouragement. Winds of the North, great hummingbird, come join us tonight. Take us under your wings and teach us about the sweet nectar of life. Show us how to be with the ancient ones, the ancestors, grandfathers, and grandmothers. Warm your hands by the fire in our hearts here tonight. We honor all who have come before us and all who come after us. Winds of the East, great eagle, sister condor, come to us from the place of the rising sun. Encourage us to fly with you and show us the mountaintops of our lives. Inspire us, communicate, and dare to dream. Help us to see the big picture and extend beyond this dimension. Be with us as we dream a new world into being. Pachamama, great mother, Mamita, thank you for being with us tonight. We honor the spirit and the rhythm of all beings on this planet. Those who walk, crawl, fly, and swim. We honor the great spirit that exists in all of creation. We honor your mountains and valleys, rivers and oceans. We vow to honor the life cycle of all things and to be of service to you. Father Sky, Great Spirit, Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun, Wankatonka, and Star Nations, you who are called by 1,000 names and are the great mystery of life. We thank you for the expansive space and creative wisdom of the cosmos. We gather here to sing the song of life with this breath, this great and every breath past, present, and future. Aho, amen. Okay, and we are open. Let's do some intentions. We'll go in order of the screen. Connie, me, Erin, Ursula, Danelle.
My intention is connection.
My intention is also connection and some magic.
Mine too, connection and just learning, taking in, receiving whatever is transpiring tonight.
You're on mute, Ursula.
My intention also is connection and community.
Is it me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just everything. I want to learn everything, connection, magic, which is awesome. And that's yeah.
Awesome. Love it. I want all the things.
I want
all the things. Don't forget anything, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, cool. So I have, so what I brought today was the energy updates for June, which are some pretty awesome ones that I think yeah, you guys will love. And curious, just like as we always do this, right? Like as I go through them, what are you experiencing already? What are you noticing? because as I was like receiving these and like writing these down, right, I was like, oh, so many of them. I'm like, oh my God, yes. And even what I did this on Saturday. So like Ursula and I, we went to a ceremony on Saturday night, and like I sat with some of these, and like, yeah, it was showing to me like where it's kind of showing up in my life too and other people's lives. So super cool. All right, so let's roll. So June energy update. So one of the first energies is change and overwhelm. Surprise. So with that, change and overwhelm, it can be feelings of being worn out, exhausted, confused, disoriented. And it can be due to things in your life, like in your personal life, or that can be feelings due to how crazy things have been around you. Right. So, I mean, think about this year, 2024, up until this date. Like, there's been like wild shit happening, right? And like all of our lives, like all of you that I've spoken to, right? Even from the beginning of the year, just a lot of changes, right? A lot of small changes and a lot of really big changes, right? So with that, a lot of these things are things that have started before June. So they are things of the past that are bringing these feelings. So you want to know that you can create pauses for yourself. You can create stops. You can create adjustments, and to give yourself time. Give yourself time, give yourself grace, give yourself patience. And one thing to really kind of like, grab and hold on to is that small little changes can bring small moments of peace. Right. So think how many times you've been in a place of where you're like in overwhelm, or you're feeling disoriented, or just like crazy as fuck. Everything's crazy. It's like just a small, like if you can just create a small pause for yourself, right? Just a minute where you're sitting there and you're like, okay, let me bring myself back to my center, right? Take a couple breaths. It's like just that moment of peace, or that minute of peace, can shift your entire day, right? And get you out of that. I'm gonna change the blinds because my blind thing is bugging me. Hold on a second. Okay. Better. All right. The next energy is lightning fast changes and turnarounds. Lightning fast changes and turnarounds are in the air. So this isn't always, changes and turnarounds in a negative aspect. This is also positive too. So when you find these things are happening, right? So like think back in the past, like super fast changes, right? Things change in an instant, and these turnarounds, even if they are good things, sometimes it can be kind of like, because it's so fast, right? So again, it's the intention of like coming back to your center and like holding your center, because no matter what's changing around you, you can hold you, right? So whether it's a something that you deem to be a good change or a bad change, whatever that is, have the knowing that it will smooth out, even if it's immediately shocking at first. Right? So it's like when you jump in a cold pool, right? It's fucking cold at first. And then after a minute, it's like, okay, I'm breathing and it's all right now. So it will smooth out. So with that, so this one pretty much ties into that, is handling conflict energy. So this can be handling conflict energy with somebody, with people in your life, or seeing it play out with people in your life, you know, others around you, work, friends, family. Or it can be experiencing it as a conflict with yourself. So know that the opposite also exists, right? So there's also, you know, besides conflict energy, there's also energy of love, the energy of miracles. Like those energies are also present, right? But this is the one that is kind of being kind of brought to the front right now. So, like for me, in my experience, so I've had a decent amount of conflict energy in the past week and a half, I guess. And it was conflict with myself, right? Because I wasn't expressing how I felt. I was trying to push something down. And then it became a conflict with myself and John, and it was conflict with us, but then it was more of a conflict within myself, right? So it was like it was pretty fucking wild. And it was really me going back into my heart, like realizing where I was, that I was looking at it not from my heart, I was looking at it from my mind, right? And expecting other people to live from my perspective. And my perspective comes from my life, my experiences in my life, right? Like Connie, Erin, I don't expect you girls to have the same beliefs as me on a certain subject of how I would treat somebody, because you guys have had different life experiences with those types of situations, right? So when I looked at it from my heart, it was like, oh, duh. Okay, thank you. Right. So that's another point there is, you know, handling the conflict energy, whether it is people around you or it's a conflict within yourself, that if you're coming or if you're looking at that through your heart and not your mind, right? Because your mind only knows from what you've experienced in the past, whereas your heart can look through eyes of compassion and love, right? You're not the same as me. You're not coming from the same place that I am. And also, so with the, you know, conflict with self, one of the kind of like, have you been, are you experiencing this, is have you been in a dark place? Have you not been able to explain your hardness on yourself or your judgments to yourself, right? So have you been really tough on you now or in the recent past, right? And maybe you don't know why you have been. It could be having to do with this energy that is clear and apparent currently, right? So if you do feel like that, if you're like, oh my God, yeah, like I have been like that, just know that it could be from that, and go back into your heart, right? And give yourself that grace, give yourself that love. There's also so you can use this mantra if you find that you have been doing that. Even if you haven't been doing that, you can use this mantra, because why wouldn't you want to clear any energies that aren't yours, right? So the mantra is, I release any energies and emotions that are not mine. And with that, like, so I'm curious, have any of you girls ever used something like that before? A mantra like that?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it makes, believe it or not, like when I at first I didn't believe that when I tried it, and then I did it and I was like, you know what? That bit just everything just went off my shoulders. And it's a great thing.
It's so cool, right?
Yeah.
And it's like we talk about all the time, like your words are energy, your words are power, your words are spells,
Yeah.
right? So you just even saying that out loud has the power to just like goodbye,
Yeah, exactly.
you're releasing it. And so I know, Danelle, you and I have talked about like you're very empathic, right? So you feel everybody's everything, right?
Yeah.
Like one thing that I learned to start doing a while ago was, because a lot of times I'll just be sitting here and I'll have this feeling and I'm like, oh my, what is this? Right? Like a couple weeks ago, I'm like, I've had like this anxious, like weird. I'm like, and I wasn't doing anything. I'm like, is this mine? And when I ask that, if it's not mine, it goes away, but then it comes back, right? If it's mine, then it gets stronger. So I'm like, okay, whose could this be? Right. So I found out whose it was, and I was like, okay, like, this is not mine. I don't want you. Thank you. Goodbye. Like, I love you. Goodbye. And bye. So anywhere, like walking through Publix, walking through the supermarket, because people got shitty shit going on all over the place, right? And us being like who we are, a lot of that wants us like,
Yeah.
like, have you ever noticed that sometimes when you go into the food store, you feel not normal?
Yeah, it's kind of why I go when there's not a lot of people.
I go right before they close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stress. It feels stressful. It's more stressful, I think,
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody just, it's all at once.
Well, and think about it too. Like the majority of thoughts in the supermarket. So think about the cost of food has gone up. The
Yeah.
quality of food has not.
Right.
People's pay has not gone up. So you have families shopping in there, worried about money, food.
Mhm.
Am I going to have enough? So all of that shit is flying around in the supermarket, and here we are. It's like,
Yeah.
you like this. Oh. Right? So you could even like protect yourself before you go into the supermarket. You could use your mantra when you're in there, when you leave, wipe it all off. Yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, so then the other note about those energies, right? So using that mantra, um, so the conflict energy, it's a seductive energy. It permeates and it spreads. So feeling like scared, feeling afraid, feeling judgmental, um, like chaotic, even just release, like release whatever's not yours. Even if you don't know what is yours and what's not, just release all of it, right? Jewel don't want none of it, unless you want it. You might learn
I have
something
a,
from it.
I have a mantra that I say every day is like, I release everything and anything that does not serve me. I
Mm,
release everything and anything that does not serve me. I say that,
mhm.
and it
Yeah,
feels good.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have in the morning with my practice, I always put, yeah, after I ground, I put my bubble. I'm like, only what's for my highest good comes through. Everything else bounces off, returns to sender with so much love, or just floats right around. But yeah, it's like you can't go wrong with talking to your energy, clearing your energy, protecting your energy, releasing. Yeah, it's hygiene, right? Spiritual hygiene. We need it. Okay, next one. I love this one. You are no longer the same. You're no longer the same person. Who are you now? So this is internal reviews of habits, wants, and the needs to mirror external world changes. So with this also can come a feeling of, right, like okay, so who am I? Like maybe you thought you knew who you were, what you wanted, right? What you needed, what your desires were, and maybe all of that shifted. And now you're in a place of like, well, who am I? What do I want? Like my desires aren't the same. So, right, kind of like this I don't know place, which is totally fine. Totally fine. You're in the midst of the change energy, right? So with that, it's like this, like, I mean, really, our whole entire life is just a big ongoing process, right? So to think that, we're never going to change, right? We're always going to be the same person is, I mean, really, like, is that even, can you even know? Like, think back a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, how vastly different you are, like how different each version of you is, and how different you're going to be in 2 months, in 8 months, in 2 years. Right. So, like, if you're in that place now of like, oh, well, who am I? What do I want? Instead of being like, oh shit, I don't know. Like me, it's okay. Like, just embrace it. Right. It's an ongoing process. I'm currently in this place. Just because your big why may have changed, lean into the small things that you do know that you want. And it can be even as small as like, I know that I want to get a really good night's sleep tonight. Right? I know for breakfast tomorrow, I want pancakes, eggs, and bacon. Right? Because just those small things that you know that you want and giving those small things to yourself, those things bring you joy. Right? And think too, it's like, okay, like for me, I'm thinking of that. It's like, all right, breakfast tomorrow. Like, I really want this. I can't wait to have it. Giving myself that, like, I get so much joy from that and satisfaction, eating the food, making the food, whatever, how I feel, the connection, if I'm eating with somebody versus like my big why. It's like, okay, well, if I had my big why and it never changed, like that's cool and all, but like, it's really not the same type of, right? It's not the same type of like satisfaction or fulfillment or joy, you know? Jackson, stop. Can you hear him licking himself like a mad dog? Love you, Jackson. Thank you. um, yeah, so leading into the small things and surrender. Just surrender to it. Everything's so much easier when you just surrender to it. Right? I don't know my big why. Yeah, okay, well, just surrender to it. I don't know. Big deal. It's not, it'll come. You keep resisting it. It's like, you're just gonna be sitting in that shit. No one wants to sit in the shit, Ain't nobody have time for that. The next one, which is awesome, is receiving miracles. So there's a very strong, stable, high frequency that is helping balance the lower frequencies in the world. So we see that in turn of events, fast changes and turnarounds. So these energies, they're allowing for seeming miracles to come in. So you can find it could be things like, things that you've been wanting, praying for, trying to manifest. They quickly, boom, there they are, right? Or you're, wanting something, you think of something today and you're wanting it tomorrow, boom, it's there, right? Kind of same thing as manifestation. But finding yourself having clarity, and suddenly having resources to help somebody else or help others, right? Kind of like feeling like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this with these people over here, right? Helping people. So you could find that you yourself are being used to create these miracles in other people's lives, right? And that can be as simple as you helping somebody get something, do something, accomplish something, become something, whatever that is. You are the miracle, which is pretty cool. Some people call that. Have you guys ever heard of change angels? So there is actually I met her in oh my goodness. So Erin, it was in the women's networking, the Unstoppable, when we did one of the women's networking groups. And I was in a room with her and she's like, "Oh, I'm a change angel." I'm like, "What is that?" So she like told me a little bit about it. And she's like, "Oh yeah, we were sent here to like create change on the earth and help with, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And it sounded really cool. And then she asked for my cell phone number and she kept texting me and trying to get me on Zooms to become a change angel. I'm like, "Well, here's your changes. Now you're being annoying and what are you gonna do with it?" You need to
You're like,
change your
stop
approach.
pitching. Stop
What?
pitching. Stop pitching to me.
Yeah. I was like, be the example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had never heard of that before. And then, here it is like, "Oh, a change angel." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know that it was a business though, or it
No,
could
I
be a business, but I guess people make a business out of anything, right?
sure.
Um, so the receiving miracles frequency is really strong over the next 3 months. So the encouragement is to invite it in, right? And that could even be something that you say out loud. That could even be a mantra, right? I invite the frequency of miracles in today, all day, every day, and see what happens. It's like for a while I would do my intention in the morning to be to live a day of heaven on earth, right? And every day was like magic. So much cool shit would happen. So I bet you with this one that would be pretty close. Okay. The next one is kind of a short one. So environmental fragility awareness. So this one's slightly wild, right? So the essence of this is, so there's more to the story than what we've been told. And this is having to do with things like climate change, right? So the story or the events have been manipulated as to, what we've been fed. And now is the beginning of all of it being broken open with this energy. So we're going to start to hear or see or experience more of the truth of this. Which my brain goes in many different directions when I hear that. Right? Like conspiracy stuff and okay. And then the next one is lights in the sky. So other beings that we may be connected to, galactic knowledge will be becoming more apparent in our world. We'll be having more of it in our world, and to use your discernment, right? So kind of just like, with anything else, right? Like prophets and false prophets. So think of like Bashar, right? So like Bashar, we would know like Bashar is legit because Bashar's been around for a really long time. But if someone new pops up and starts saying like total opposite of Bashar, it's like, okay, use your discernment, right? So use your discernment, use your intuition, like feel into these things. And also that's really kind of exciting. Right. And then the last one is praying for peace. So praying for peace, actions for peace, towards peace. All of these things that have been being done up until this point are changing the old system slowly and having an effect on it. So if you've been praying for peace, acting towards peace, continue doing that because it is having an effect and it is going to start to show now, which also pretty cool. And those are the updates for June. some pretty cool ones, right? Did you guys have ones that stood out to you, or ones that like you're like, oh, I've been experiencing that?
There was one, there was actually a couple. The change and overwhelm, that one, definitely feel that.
Hmm.
Um, and feeling different energies. I've had 3 people in my life, including a family member, where I feel like our shadows are triggering each other.
Hmm.
And um and I'm feeling like my higher self, I'm almost like visualize, I'm like letting their hands slip off so I can rise up, and I'm letting that lower energy, I'm like releasing it down. And I realized I was feeling a lot of guilt about it, because I think my shadow people pleaser is like, well, I want to be liked and I want to be accepted, but my heart's saying, you need to disconnect from these people.
Hmm.
And so that's been very challenging for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Not in a condescending way. I'm not saying that condescending, but I definitely feel some judgmentalness coming up with me too. But for a long period of my life, I have always felt this like caring energy, like I'm carrying people. It's like I'm doing the work for them. I'm covering for them. I've had bosses my whole career that have been like, can you mentor this person? I'm like, they don't want to be mentored. They just want to collect a paycheck and do the bare minimum. And I'm not going to rub off on them. They have no desire to improve. And I feel like that happens in many areas of my life. I'm just kind of sick of it. It's like, I don't want to carry anybody anymore.
Yeah.
I understand that too.
Do you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there's guilt, because there's part of me that's like, well, I want to help people, but I'm feeling in my heart like, no, you need to let them go. They're pulling you down, they're weighing you down. And then I'm feeling frustration because they're not rising with me. They stay in excuses and denial and stagnation. And it's just really hard to live in that energy from multiple people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when they don't want help, right? It's like that's
I
what
don't see it.
and
And I
all.
realized from reading that book, Letting Go by David Hawkins, I'm like, I'm moving away from trying, like, not being judgmental. I'm like, it's level of consciousness. That's what it is. It's not a personality. It's not like they're doing it on purpose. It's a lack of, it's the level of consciousness that they're operating. It's the frequency that they're at. And they have to want a different level of consciousness. They have to want a different frequency. I can't want it more than they want it for themselves.
Yeah.
That's been really hard for me to accept.
Mhm. Well, and I think he says in the book too, is it that book or it's another one? So wherever you are, whatever level you're at, right? So like say we're here and people that we're talking about are here, we can see that. They can't see what it's like up here.
Mhm.
They don't know what's up here. They only know what's below.
That's right.
Right? So for you to be like, hey, but you could, that's like fucking speaking Chinese to me. What?
And they get defensive, or they'll say, you always take the other person's side. And I'm like, I'm just trying to help raise their consciousness, raise their awareness, because they get in the like complaining mode and life is terrible and making excuses nonstop. I'm like, you're never going to feel better. You're never going to move out of stagnation if that's where your thoughts are living every single day.
Yeah. And Ursula just walk away. And so, yeah, like to that, because I don't, and I'm curious what you girls think too. I don't believe that any of us can help somebody get out of where they are. They have to come to the awareness and have the desire to make whatever the change is to create a change. You saying you could do this, and I think you're, and this, right? Like you said, they just get defensive. Like, you're being mean. Why are you being mean to me? Why are you telling me all this stuff? I can't
Or
do
they
that.
gaslight me, they turn it around like I'm the troublemaker, I'm the one that's not on their side, and it's like, it's such victim mentality, it's like, I just can't live there. So thank you, Ursula, for giving me the permission to walk away.
I've always been very, and I consider myself very detached from things since little, I moved a lot, so I was okay moving, detaching from friends, from people. And I used to feel like I'm lonely, but now it's like, I love it because it doesn't really bother me. It's like, you believe whatever you want. It's like, fine. It's like, this is my perspective. I've started, my perspective is this. I respect yours. All you can do is just be an example. Don't try to change them. Don't try to do, you just got to be an example, and just, so now I embrace my being so easily detached from things, situations. I love that. Which back in before my awakening, I used to be like, oh man, I'm different. I don't have anybody, It's like I have me.
Yeah,
That's all I need is me.
I love that, it's
So
beautiful.
I'm really, really, really happy with being easily detached from things.
Like,
That's
you're
great.
I've gotten that way too.
That's awesome.
I don't have time or the energy to put out to people who aren't willing or ready to be on the same wavelength. You know what I mean? Like, I know so many people that like are really good people, but all they do is complain.
Yeah.
Everything sucks. My life's terrible. And I'm just like, I can't. I love you, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
My sister, I went out with her the other day, and I don't want to. She's like not a Debbie Downer. I don't want the labels, but she's complaining and oh, I don't like that person. I'm like, sis, people change. I mean, she must have done. She did something in the past, but maybe she's changed. She's not the same person. Give him a chance. Be open. It's like she's like so negative in certain ways, but I just love her, and she has her own journey.
Mhm.
She has her own journey.
I came to that conclusion. I'm like, it's not for me to change them. Like, these are probably spiritual lessons they're here to learn. And so if I interfere or try to nudge them, I'm interfering with like divine work and their spiritual path. And so I'm like, it's not your job. Like, step back.
And
Step
sometimes they're not
away.
ready for it.
You're not ready for it. No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink the water. Like,
Exactly.
and like my sister is like, I'm sorry, she is Debbie Downer. She's just like wah 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 wah. And it's like a negative vortex talking to her on the phone, and I just like, do you have anything good to say? Is there any good news? And it's just like, no, just, and I just like I have to like cut it short with her and like set boundaries with her, and it's like, and sometimes I question like, why do I stay in touch with her? Because if she wasn't a family member, I honestly can say like she wouldn't be somebody I would hang out with. Like, so I don't know, but she's my family. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what I've found with family is like they're always going to be your family, right?
Yeah,
And
that's true.
sometimes it doesn't have to be like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. It's just right? And it just turns into whatever it's going to turn into. Maybe it's less conversation. Maybe it just looks like, like you said, when you do talk, you just cut it short, like, oh, yeah, my boyfriend needs this, gotta go. right? Like setting those boundaries for yourself, you know? Because like when you try and lead the horse to water and you try and make the horse drink, then who gets pissed off? You get pissed off because the horse ain't drinking, you know?
It's true. And why cause yourself that frustration? It's
Exactly.
just not worth it.
Right.
Like Aaron said, and that's synchronicities, because I was just listening to something that said that's the level of consciousness that they're at.
Yeah.
Just understanding that is like, that's their level of consciousness, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah, they're not capable because that's where they're at. Like,
yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
That was helpful to hear too, Daniel, that we can see it, but they can't see it. So that makes it really challenging because they're in denial.
Yeah, and so this is interesting too. So I was just thinking about this when we were talking about that, right? Like your sister, like your people, like your like everyone had just said, right? The level of consciousness. So this isn't a new story. It's my same girlfriend that I talk about all the time that I've been like, she would word vomit, to call me just bleh, all over. And I'm like, yo, like I love you, and like, no, there's got to be more than that. And so when you achieve, say, like, so where we are right now, our level of consciousness, can you drop back down and then you can't see up to where you were?
Hmm.
Because and so I'll tell you the story to fill you in, and just because it's so fucking wild. So I get a text message early in the morning, walking the dogs. Hey girl, hope everything's fine. Call me ASAP. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Haven't talked to her in months. And so she asked me for these receipts from a passion party, like a sex toy party that I had 3 years ago. I said, why do you need these? Because her husband thinks that she's running a sex trafficking ring in her house. What? And that she's cheating on him with every contact in her foot, like all of this wild stuff.
My Lord.
Like she's telling me all these stories. Her best friend no longer speaks to her. She called the cops and child services on her because of her husband. Her mother will no longer speak to her because of her husband. She's telling me all these things that he has said to her, done to her. I'm like, what are you fighting for? Well, I love him. I'm like, that is not a man that loves you. Not a man that loves you. Like, she's not allowed to be alone in her home by herself. She's a grown woman. She's the one that makes all the money. Okay, he's in school. Just all of this stuff, right? And like verbal abuse, like horrible. It just continues to get worse and worse. And there's less time in between the recovery. So now it's been months that she's in this like hell. And I'm like, leave. She's like, I can't leave now. He's just starting his internship. If I leave emotionally, he's not going to be. I'm like, you're worried about his internship? I said, what happens? What's next? What happens when he kills you? She's like, you're not the first one to say that.
Hmm.
Now, a year ago, her level of consciousness was way higher. She was like, I am not putting up with this shit. Absolutely not. And now all of a sudden, like,
Hmm.
like, yeah, like, can you decline? And then you don't remember? Or is it that you're so brainwashed or in these energies that the energies are basically like you're just in that constantly, and that's all you're breathing in?
What do you think changed? Like, what do you think changed her consciousness?
Honestly, I think drugs and alcohol. Him.
Well, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Words will bring it down too.
What's that?
Words will bring it down.
Oh my God, yeah, verbal abuse over and over and over
Oh, yeah.
repeatedly.
I've been down to the bottom.
Oh.
So I get it. It's like it's you don't know that it happens. And then when when you finally realize that what the fuck just happened, like where have I been? It's kind of a slap to the face when you realize.
Hmm.
Mm.
And that's when things will change. So until she gets a slap to the face, hopefully just emotionally or something, then she's not gonna wake up until she does.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, that's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, and that's my, like there were several friends that, were there this weekend and it's like, do you know about this? Right. And everyone knows about it, but wasn't saying anything to each other. And like, well, what do we do? Have an intervention? It's like, no, because neither of them want to be helped.
Mm.
She doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want help. He knows that he's got shit going on. He don't want to see anyone about it. He goes to medicine ceremonies all the time. He doesn't work on that. He works on how great he is. I'm so great. I'm like, okay.
I know someone just like that. He can kick rocks with flip flops.
I love that expression.
That's good. I never heard that.
My favorite.
That's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just wild. It's like, yeah. When I try and put myself in other people's shoes too, like when I hear of people like that, right? Like, oh, well, if I was being treated like that, or if I acted like that, or if that was my response, like where would I be coming from? What would my emotions be? And I just like with a situation like that, it's just like, no, I can't imagine, right? Allowing myself to go past a certain point or like tolerate a certain, right? Past a certain point.
There's no boundaries there.
Yeah.
None.
I was listening to Sarah Landon today about worthiness.
Mm.
Like maybe her level of consciousness was here, but her self-worth
Way low.
was not.
Mm.
I mean, you can know all this, but if you
Yeah,
don't
you
feel
can.
worthy, if you don't, love yourself,
Yeah, you
it's
can see
easy
it
to let the
happening.
worthiness down.
Yeah.
It's easy to, not hold that level of consciousness because you don't feel worthy.
Right. Yeah,
Mm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's
Mm.
something that
You can
she
see it.
says.
You can see it happening, but you don't think that like you're worthy of
And you're
anything
worthy,
other
and
than that.
that's
Even though you see it. I get that. I get that. That's a good way of putting it though.
Well, and she has said that, well, I deserve some of this stuff. I'm like,
Ah,
what?
no.
Nobody deserves it. That was like, okay. That I was like, okay, you're brainwashed, like brainwashed.
Hard. That's really hard.
yeah. I love and accept myself, and I've been doing mirror work day and night. First thing I wake up in the morning, and before I go to sleep.
Love it.
Started like 10 minutes now. I'm up to 45 minutes with the mirror. I just love myself more and more each and every day.
It's awesome.
Mhm.
So I'm so grateful for mirror work. And I went to the ceremony with Danielle this past weekend, and I wanted more connection with my higher self. And while I was in the medicine, I go to the bathroom and there's this mirror, and the mirror called me. And I'm looking at myself and I'm seeing I'm just like, I'm loving myself with all different shapes because, you see all different things. And even because sometimes you see yourself not so pretty, not so, you see the good and the bad, well, quote unquote, you just see yourself in all different shapes. And I just love myself all, everything, say good and bad, whatever. It was just so beautiful. I didn't want to leave the mirror, but I knew people had to go in the bathroom. But yeah, I love doing mirror work. It's helped me a lot.
Beautiful.
It was a beautiful ceremony, by the way. Beautiful.
It was. Mhm. And that's the, it's like, you know, when you have that type of love for yourself, whether it's induced by mirror work or you just have it, right? And it
Mhm.
continues to grow. It's like when things like that happen to you, there is no even thought of like you tolerating it. You're like, no, no. Like if you don't love me like I love me, you gotta go. Bye.
True that.
Right? And so like to the point, right? Like, you know, you don't love yourself. You're going to tolerate anyone that loves you less or that amount. Like you don't love yourself at all, so that's what you tolerate. People that feel that or less about you. So what
But
kind of
everything is a reflection of us.
yeah,
Totally.
So if you're with somebody that doesn't really love you, it's because you don't love you.
yourself. Yes.
I'm gonna say, I agree with that 100%.
You
My
know?
last boy, yeah, the last boyfriend I had was probably the worst one I ever had, and that was 14 years ago. It took me 14 years to start loving myself completely, and I'm fine with that, by the way. But you know, I learned a lot of lessons from it. But like you said, you're only gonna attract how you feel about yourself. You don't love yourself, you ain't gonna find love in that way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So one thing that so I guess it had to do with ceremony too. And a lot of the conversation that we've been having. So like level of consciousness, right? And people that are around us and like complaining, or like this one is like, oh my God, that girl like 27 years ago, I hate her because she talked to Joey and da da da, da, right? It's like, okay, 27 years ago, we're not over that. Like people change. And at the same time, that's people that are not conscious, right? And they're living from here, which this only remembers what has happened in the past and can think only that can happen again.
Right.
So living from the heart. So one of my lessons last week was learning to stay in the heart, but more so learning the signs of when your heart closes, that you can open it again. Right. So like for me, so like, right, I teach body, right? I feel like I'm like a body genius, right? So my body is constantly giving me messages. You probably feel the same way, Erin, right? Like you're constantly like listening to your body. So my number one, and I never even associated it before. So you know when you're having a conversation with somebody and they say something that like pisses you off, or they say something and you get like the rise, it's like the adrenaline shooting through your body. It's like venom that your heart going
Oh,
closing.
yeah, that makes sense.
Because what comes after this, after that rise, it's usually,
Mhm.
and that's
Anger.
not ever anything from your heart. It's usually nasty, right? It's a reaction. It's not a response. It's immediate.
Mhm.
So like that's one sign, right? You feel that rise. Or like you feel the emotion, you feel the anger, you feel madness. So when your heart's open, right? You feel when your heart's open. So think about, I mean, think about times when your heart's been open, right? You feel love, you feel joy, you feel light, you feel like flow. It's like even if you're in a shitty situation or you're in a conflict, you still have the knowing like everything's going to be fine. Like it sucks right now, and that's okay. There's something for me here to learn, right? But when your heart closes, you're like, oh my God, this sucks. I can't, how do I get out of this? And you're trying to find how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
How do I fix this? Actions. What can I do? What can I do? Nope, back to the heart. Right? open your heart. It's like, okay, open your heart, right? And open your heart as easy as like, okay, let me feel the love. Let me feel the love, right? So I'll just like tap here, put my hand here, take a breath, close my eyes, and like come back to the intention, whatever the intention is. Right. And that, like, just even that, thinking about certain people or certain situations throughout the day, right? If I find that I'm thinking about that situation again and I can't let it go, it's because I'm here. I'm not here because the heart can let anything go. The mind doesn't want to let anything go, wants to hold on to things and be right and be the one and fix and da da da, right? No, just let it go.
It's true. I've been doing a lot of heart meditations, a lot. Because I feel like judgmentalness and anger coming up, and I'm like, you need to center yourself. Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. That's
Hey,
totally
welcome.
relatable. Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. And is that like when you have like the judgment and the anger, is that like having to do with the people that you're talking about? Yeah. Yeah. And so so the situation that I dealt with, experienced, whatever last week had to do with John's cousin, right? And so for whatever reason, she doesn't like me, which whatever. Usually I don't give a fuck. If you don't like me, that's cool. Bye. Like, doesn't bother me. You do you, I'll do me. And so, right, why? I'm like, why can't I let this go? Like, why is she? And like she's nasty. Like she just ignores me like I'm a ghost. I'll ask her a question. She looks at me and just looks right away, just like nasty, like disrespectful, like that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm pissed off about it. And then I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm pissed off about it and I'm hurt. And at the same time, let me look at it from my heart. So when I started looking at it from my heart, I'm like, okay, why is this? It's like, all right, because I'm taking a place of something that she used to do, care for this person, right? Be able to call this person whenever, take this person wherever she wanted to. And now she can't, right? So, like, she wants certain things and she can't have those things because of me. I'm sorry. And I love how you love him. I love the relationship that you have with him. Right. So, like, seeing through the eyes of your heart and having compassion for that person, right? Even if those things aren't true, right? That's what my heart sees. It's not my head trying to figure it out. It's not about me, right? It's about her. It's always about the other person. It's never about you.
It's true. And this week I found 3 brown feathers on different days. So I'm like, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. Like Ursula said, walk away.
Yeah.
Just walk away.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that was my outcome too. I was like, let it go.
I love that.
Well, I'm probably not saying it right, but there's a prayer, Hopohono,
Yeah.
Hopohono, or
It's
whatever.
Ho'oponopono.
I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I was listening to Aaron Doughty. I don't know if you know him, but he's amazing, this young kid. And he was talking about how a psychiatrist healed the patients in a mental hospital by just doing the prayer, looking at their files, and just, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And the patients were healing literally one by one. And he was saying that if you have anything like that with a person that you don't, there's something that you don't match, to just visualize that person and start saying that prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you'll switch the energy between the two people. And you'll switch your energy and impact the other person.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
There's
The
if
Hopohono
you
prayer.
put it in YouTube, There's a bunch of videos that come up, right? And most of them are to music. So even if you just pull one of those up and just like sit and listen to it,
Mhm.
you will release so much, so much. Whoosh. I used that when I was going through it with Rich a few years ago. I put that on and I was on my lanai and I just sat and I said it and I sang it and I cried for him, for myself, like especially for yourself. Like,
Mhm.
how often do we say that to ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on YouTube, that prayer, there's something about that prayer on YouTube.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Yeah.
Actually, let me just pull it up on my phone instead of typing it. It's HOOPONOPONO. Ho
Yeah.
Opo Ono Ono.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, they use that in medicine space a lot too.
I had this copywriter I was working with last year who was intuitive, and she would always say, like, you know, find a way to break whatever connection is lovingly, like do it lovingly.
Hmm.
So that it's not like a harsh boundary where you're like just shutting them out, but it's like a lovingly way to disconnect. So I always have that, and I've never forgotten her saying that. It's like if I feel that feeling coming up, I'm like, how can I do this in a loving way where it's not like a harsh electric fence? It's more of like a kind letting go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that prayer sounds perfect for that.
Mhm.
But these energies are fantastic. I mean, the receiving miracles, I'm definitely doing that mantra. I invite the frequencies of miracles in. Yes,
Right?
please. Yes,
Totally.
love that.
Totally.
Yeah, I
And
wrote that one down too. That's going to be added to my daily mantras.
Mhm.
yeah, and I like you are no longer the same. Who are you now?
Mhm. I
And
liked
then
go ahead.
another one that I say is, I know I know what I am in truth, pure positive energy, whole and complete as I am. I know what I am in truth, infinite intelligence. No way. I know. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth, and I know how I serve in truth.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I learned it from some teacher, spiritual teacher.
Love it. Who are you, Ursula? Get it right.
Guru.
You're not gonna be the same tomorrow.
Some guru, yeah.
She's a guru.
That's like the gratitude training that I did years ago. I think it's whatever part 2 or 3, you create your contract, and the way they bring it out of you is it's like this huge like rally and you're like all fired up and you're screaming like I am, and it's like whatever the words that come out. And I think mine, they give you a dog tag with it on there. And I think mine was I am a bold, passionate, loving woman, right? And so, everyone that went through it has this. And at the same time, right, I look back at it and I'm like, yeah, I'm mad. I'm like, and I'm so many other things. I'm like, and for us to think that we're just only going to be that, right, forever is like, no. And then I also see some people that went through it and their thing is what their thing is. And I'm like, no, you're not. You are not that. Y'all know that you're not.
Ah,
There's some crazy people that went through that shit. Like, nope, you shouldn't be here.
hmm.
Connie and I were talking about earlier, like how you can like you create yourself, right? So I was saying like any next level that I wanted to become, right? Like I create that version. I'm like, so like, next level CEO, I'm like, all right, who I want to be this boss bitch that I'm like embodies confidence in the way that, right? I walk into a room and I command the room. And I'm going through like all these qualities and like when I opened my gym, how I wanted to be, and I wanted to be the number one, CrossFit trainer in New Jersey. And these were the qualities that I embodied. And then once I had that list, like I just stepped into that. Like I started acting as that. Right. And that's how you create that new version of yourself. Like, and really like it comes to fruition because we can be whatever we want. Right. It's like we can go the opposite way. We can be like real shitheads, or we can choose, yeah, this is what I want to step into now. So, I mean, that's super cool too. You always get to choose, right? It's not just to chance, it's you.
Another thing that I've learned from Aaron Doughty is like, he says, we don't need to create anything. We just need to, like I said, step into that vibration because everything exists right here, right now. There's different versions of you. There's the version that you want to be. You just got to step into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're creating it. You just have to act as if and raise your vibration to that level. And then, boop, stay there. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Such
is.
a young man and so wise.
He's so handsome
What
too.
is his name?
So handsome.
Aaron,
Aaron Doughty, Daughty.
yeah,
Okay.
it's Daughtry.
Not with an R, with Doughty. I'll send you his link.
Awesome.
Oh, or yeah, I'll put it on the
Thank
chat.
you.
Yeah. I've never heard of him. He sounds pretty amazing.
He is a young fellow. Let's see.
Can you imagine his
Anything
life ahead?
from-
If he's like this now?
What's that?
Can you imagine what his life is going to be like if he's like this now?
Also,
He was a shoe salesman in 2017.
and
And
now
now he's a speaker. He's amazing. He's so knowledgeable. Aaron Doughty, here it is there. I listen to him on YouTube.
All right. Another
Thank
thing on
you.
YouTube to check out.
yeah, he's got a lot of stuff. Hmm. So peaceful right now. Just like watching all of you, like,
Great conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
always,
Mhm.
always dig it.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, well, shall we? We shall. Pull up my closer. Okay. Great winds of the South, Sachamama, thank you for being here with us today and teaching us to shed our old ways. Great winds of the East, Adorango, Great Jaguar, thank you for being here and showing us how to have courage in the face of fear. Great winds of the North, thank you for being here and showing us how to seek out the sweetness in life. Winds of the East, Great Eagle and Sister Condor, thank you for being here with us and teaching us to see the big picture. Mother Earth, Pachamama, thank you for being here with us and always supporting us. And Father Sky, thank you for being here and allowing us to feel your infinite greatness. I love you all and wish you a beautiful night. Blow out our candles.
I'm like, do we blow it out or do I find a lid?
Like,
I love you,
I
Pam.
love, I love you all, including the candle. That was awesome. Thank you, girls, for tonight. Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
Yes, sweet dreams. Well,
Feel better.
Yeah, I hope you feel better, Danielle.
thank you.
Bye.